Hi, this is Jay Early. Welcome to the third video in the series. In this one, you are actually going to do a guided meditation where you get to work with one of your parts. So let's go over here. So you're going to work with one of your protectors, and you should make sure to do this guided meditation in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. It's not very long, maybe 10 minutes. And never do a meditation like this while driving a car. And to begin with, what I'd like you to do is choose a protector that you'd like to work with. So basically, think of a situation in your life where you would like to feel or act differently. And you may just have, once you've chosen the situation, like it could be, I feel shy in social settings, or, I get angry at my wife too much, or something, whatever it might be. And it may be obvious, like, okay, if I get angry at my wife too much, it's an angry part. And if I'm shy in social situations, it's a shy part. But if you're not sure about the part, then just take a moment and remember, once you've got the situation, I'm going to assume that you've chosen a type of situation that you'd like to change. And if you're not, then just pause the video until you've chosen one and then start it up again. And then remember the last time when that situation or type of situation occurred, or remember what it usually feels like when that situation or type of situation happens. And in fact, imagine that you're feeling that right now. Now, you won't feel it as strongly now as you do when you're actually in the situation, but you imagine that you are feeling the anger or the shyness or the urge to procrastinate, or feeling bad about yourself, whatever it might be. And as you feel into that, just imagining yourself in that situation, just notice what parts, what feelings, what thoughts, what body sensations, all of those are probably going to correspond to parts. Just could be impulses, it could be desires to avoid. Just notice what you're aware of in that situation. I'll give you a moment or two with that. And then choose the most important one of those parts to work with, the one that seems to actually be causing the behavior that's not working for you, or the painful feelings, or strange defenses, whatever it might be that are coming up for you. Choose that part. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've done that. And now we're going to begin the guided meditation. If you need a little more time, again, just pause the video and take as much time as you need. And if you're not clear on the part, go ahead and start. If you've tried it and you're not really clear on the part yet, go ahead and start the guided meditation, because that may help you to get clear. So when you're ready to start the guided meditation, remember you're in a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Sit in an upright but relaxed posture. Close your eyes and go inside. And begin just by focusing your attention on the sensations in your belly. You might notice a fullness, or maybe a solidness, or perhaps a softness in your belly, or anything else. You might even just notice the sensation of the rise and fall of your belly with each breath. Whatever it is, just take a moment to be present with that belly sensation. That's right, just allowing yourself to sink more deeply into being present in your belly. And if you notice your mind wandering to something else, just gently bring it back to your belly. And as you stay with that, you may find yourself relaxing a little more, maybe going into a deeper place inside. All right, now what I'd like you to do is focus your attention on that part that you chose to work with. Or if you weren't clear, just focus your attention on what it feels like when you're in that situation that you'd like to change. In fact, imagine that it's happening right now, and just feel into the part, the major part that's involved in making that situation as it is. And you might sense that part in your belly, not your belly, in your body, a body sensation. You might sense the emotions of that part in that situation. You might, with your eyes closed, you might just allow an image to arise of what that part looks like. And or you might hear what the part is saying. All of those are different ways to access the part experientially. And once you've got a sense of it in one or more of those ways, just say hello to the part to let it know that you're interested in getting to know it. And then notice how it responds to you. And now what I'd like you to do is check and see if it feels like now that that part is up, has it taken you over so that not only are you feeling some of the part's feelings, but is it that like all you're feeling and you don't have a separate place to stand? Or can you be in touch with the part and yet still not be taken over too much by its feelings or its beliefs? That's what we're aiming for. So if the part seems to have taken you over completely, just ask it if it would be willing to make some space for you to be there too, so you can get to know it and help it. Or you could just internally kind of step back a little from the part so that you have a place to stand, so to speak, inside that is separate from the part. You're not pushing the part away. You're not wanting it to go away because you actually want to get to know it. But you need to have a place to stand in which to get to know it, which is called self in IFS. So I'm going to assume now that you've got some separation from your part, and I'll go on. So now what I'd like you to do is check to see how you're feeling toward this part right now. In other words, are you openly curious about it? Are you maybe feeling compassion for it? Are you interested in it? Or you might be feeling judgmental toward it or angry at it, or like you want to get rid of it because after all, you chose this part because it causes you problems. So if you're feeling one of those last things, that means you're not in self. So if you're feeling like angry or judgmental or something like that, that means there's a part of you, another part of you, that's feeling angry or judgmental toward the target part that you first chose to work with. So if that's the case, ask that, I'm going to call the other part, the part that feels angry or judgmental or wants to get rid of the target part, I'm going to call that a concerned part, because it's concerned about the target part. It's concerned about your connecting with the target part. So ask that concerned part if it would be willing to step aside just for the rest of this guided meditation so you can get to know the target part from an open place. And don't try to make it step aside, just ask and see what happens. And you may notice a shift where you're feeling more open toward the target part. If so, great, we'll move on in a minute. If you don't notice a shift, or if the concerned part says, no, I won't step aside, then ask the concerned part what it's afraid would happen if it did step aside. And it may say that it's afraid that the target part is going to take over and do bad things. So if that's the case, reassure the concerned part that that's not what we're going to do here. We're not going to just let the target part take over, that you're actually going to stay in self, and you're going to get to know the target part and find out what it's trying to do for you. Because we know we know all these parts like this have a positive intent. So that's what you're going to be doing. You're not going to be letting it take over. And see if under those conditions, the concerned part might be willing to step aside, just for the rest of this guided meditation. If it needs to come back in afterwards to protect you, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to assume now that the concerned part has stepped aside, but now check and see again now, how are you feeling toward the target part now? And if you're now feeling openly curious or compassionate or connected to it, then you're in self. And if you're not, if you're feeling judgmental or angry, scared of it, wanting to get rid of it, then maybe another concerned part's there. And if that's the case, do the same thing with that other concerned part. Ask it to step aside, reassure about any of its fears, and so that you will now, once that's happened, you will now be in self, which means you'll be openly curious and interested in getting to know the target part from its own perspective. So I'm going to assume now that that's happened and move on to the next step. So now ask the target part what it is trying to accomplish by doing what it does. Whatever that might be, getting angry, being shy, judging you, being controlling, whatever it might be. Ask it what it's trying to accomplish by doing that. Or what it's trying to get for you by doing that. And then just listen for its response. Don't try to figure out the answer, just ask and quietly wait to hear what it has to say. Or it might even possibly communicate with you through images or body sensations. It might not use words, although most parts do. So now once you've gotten a sense of its answer to that question, here's another question. Ask it what it's afraid would happen if it didn't do that role that it usually does. If it didn't act the way it usually does, what is it afraid would happen? Okay, so you're learning hopefully more and more about what this part, this target part, this protector is trying to do for you, trying to protect you from, trying to help you get. But ask it another question. Just ask it to tell you anything else it wants to about what it is trying to do for you or to protect you from. See what it says. Okay, and now check to see if at this point you feel like you understand what the target part is trying to do for you, or if not, you may have some questions that have come up in response to the answers it's given you. So if that's happening, go ahead and ask it whatever additional questions you have, as long as they're coming from an openly curious, non-judgmental place. Okay, and now I'm going to assume that you have some understanding of what the target part is trying to do for you and how it's trying to protect you. Excuse me. And you may even see if you even have some appreciation. Sorry about that. See if you now have some appreciation for the intent of the target part, for the fact that it's trying to protect you and help you, even though you may not like what it's actually doing. And if you do have some understanding and appreciation of the target part now, convey that to the target part silently in some way. And once you have, notice how it's responding.